Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of B Sharp and C with your esteemed host, me, Artie Astor, coming to you not live, but pre-recorded. I promise the next episode after this will have something to be about an actual artist. I'm thinking Nina Simone, or I'm even thinking maybe do something like obscure, like an artist who focuses only on movie scores. Huh? Wouldn't that be nice? That we should be sharp and see someone like that. But for today, however, yes, in 2021, we need to be sharp and see the interviews, the podcast, the YouTube series, whatever you want to call it. But it is live from Nerdville, hosted by guitar legend and great Joe Bonamassa. Yes, I know. I think everyone who listens to my show recognizes that, he's one of my favorite guitarists. So you're probably thinking, Joe Bonamassa, I've heard that name. Isn't he that blues guitarist? Isn't he that kid that played for B.B. King way back when and who got his career handed to him because he was a young child prodigy opening for famous people? Well, you're only half right. Yes, he was a young child prodigy. He did open for B.B. King while he was young. He did travel with a band of musicians who were children of famous musicians. The whole bit. There's something to be said. Because I believe he is far, far from someone who had his career handed to him. There are a lot of people in this world who have opportunities, but because of lack of work ethic, lack of hard work, lack of vision, they don't cash in on those opportunities. Joe Bonamassa had some opportunities in his life, but first and foremost, he was a hard worker, and he became very good at the guitar. But then it didn't just end there. He didn't just say, I'm a good guitarist, world, come find me. No, he worked at becoming discovered, getting some exposure, getting a channel or an avenue so he could get his music out. But not just his music, he could continue a legacy that was started decades ago. And, if we just look at what he has actually accomplished, it really does speak for itself. Listen to this statistic right from his own website. He has 22, let me repeat that, 22 number one Billboard blues albums. 22 albums. If each album has 10 songs, that's 210 songs. Does this sound like someone who had his career handed to him? We really know what that looks like. When someone has their career handed to them because they have good looks, they're the children of someone famous or whatever, it doesn't act so prolifically. Is that a word, prolifically? They're not prolific. And I could name some actresses that I know who had parents who were famous, and then they got into making movies, and they weren't bad, but they weren't prolific. Because they had the opportunities, they didn't have the work ethic, the drive, and the talent that Joe Bonamassa has. It was a perfect storm. He had opportunities, but the opportunities themselves could have easily dissipated. He easily could have ended up being the guy playing guitar at Richie's Bar and Grill down the street. But he worked hard to get where he was. 22 albums, that doesn't just happen. And he's played in big venues. He's played at Red Rocks in Colorado. Of course, he's played in Eric Clapton's Den, the Royal Albert Hall, with, by the way, I may add, Eric Clapton playing with him as a guest. His current band consists of some pretty cool cats. Michael Rhodes on the bass, Reese Winans on the keys, although I tend to favor Arlen Shirebaum, but that's just my opinion. Reese is a legend in his own right, and he can do no wrong. That guy is awesome. Anton Fig, what's he from, The Tonight Show? No. David Letterman? I forget, but Anton Fig had a career in his own way, and now he's on the drumming for Joe Bonamassa. I think it was David Letterman. I could be wrong. Lee Thornburg on the trumpet, who has played with pretty much everyone, and Paulie Serra on the sax. And who's the lead guitarist for the Joe Bonamassa band? Oh, well, I won't even say. That's just a bad joke. But, as you watch Joe Bonamassa and you watch interviews, first of all, I think people need to really wrap their mind around the fact, yes, he's a blues legend, but he also is a fan of getting music known. Here's my song. These are the key. These are the chord changes. It's in C minor. Yeah, I wrote it about a girl I used to date. I kind of start off the solo finger picking like Mark Knopfler, and I don't know, and then I do this and that. Well, here's a backing track. You can play along to it. How many musicians make backing tracks of their own songs? He is a musician, but I almost want to say he's more of a fan. It's really hard. Never have I seen someone who's such a great musician who's just a fan of music. This guy is a fan and a complete and total nerd. If you like music nerdery or nerddom, I think you like what Joe Bonamassa has been doing. He talks about his influences very openly. Paul Kossoff, Peter Green. In fact, I've watched a million interviews with Joe Bonamassa. I swear, someone in Paul Kossoff's family was like, hey, can you just mention Paul's name in every interview you ever do? Even though not a lot of, music fans know who Paul is. He's constantly mentioning Paul Kossoff and his vibrato and but why? Why is that a big deal? Because this man loves music. He loves what he has heard. He loves what helped mold him into the musician that he is. He is a fan of music, and he's making it known. Not only does he freely talk to the press and do interviews or make his views known, which we as fans kind of want. We want to hear the scoop. We want to hear what these musicians have to say. Not only is he a fan, this gigantic fan, but he's pretty much said to the public, oh, by the way, I can do anything with a guitar. Hand me that Les Paul and see for yourself. He is a musician's musician, but he's also a fan's musician. It's the best of both worlds. And I think fans of music all around need to be sharp and see his podcast or YouTube series, Facebook series, if you follow him on Facebook, Live from Nerdville. He is a nerd of the highest caliber, and this is what I love. Ready? He's proud of it. You call him a nerd and he'll stick his chest out and say, you're damn right I am. And he should be proud of it, think about this. If 20 years, if society doesn't wake up, kids are going to walk up to their mother and say, Mommy, what's a guitar? Right after they ask how babies are made. Musical instruments and hard work learned expressing yourself by one will be something of the past if people like Joe Bonamassa, Rick Beato, and others don't speak up. Music is not just bits and bytes. I love what technology has done for music. I said it in one of my prior podcasts. I love what technology has done for music. I'm literally using it to record this podcast. I'm using Reason version 10 to record this podcast. And when I make my music, I use the same DAW, D-A-W, digital audio workstation. I use the same one to make my music. Most of what I play, because I'm keyboard heavy, most of what I play is on MIDI. But I'll be damned if I'm not going to add guitar, trumpet, some type of organ, and I've had contact, not that, I don't want to name drop or anything, but I've had contact with some people who are in the music world. In fact, Joe and I have a friend in common, and there are keyboard players out there. They might have a Fender Rhodes, they might have a Hammond organ, and I'll see the waves from a wave file when they record their Hammond organ, which leads me to believe they're just going straight audio into the DAW. They're not using MIDI, and I just love, if you have a Hammond organ in front of you, why are you going to MIDI out the Hammond organ? Why would you even do that? You have the real sound right there, and with all its bells and whistles, I, at this point, don't have that. I have my keyboard with my MIDI sounds, but, I'm proud of the fact that I use MIDI. Yes, I'm using the tools I have in front of me, but I'm trying to use music to express myself. And that can never end. The minute we say freely expressing yourself organically with music is no longer important, it's the moment the machines take over. That's it. The robots win. The robot apocalypse is upon us. We can't let that happen. Pain, suffering, love, hate, jealousy, anger, all of that is translated into notes. Notes. Sound waves. The bits and bytes can help us record those sound waves. Absolutely. We express ourselves musically with, are you ready? Music. And if we watch this series that Joe Bonamassa is doing, we will see what life was like when that type of expression was free, it was rampant, it was mainstream, it was important, it was revered, when it was everything. And I believe that day is not gone. Just a little bit of info about Joe Bonamassa. So who is he? Well, go to his website and find out. I mean, he can tell you better than I can, and he's got a website, right? But he does self-promote. Yes, Joe Bonamassa promotes himself. He has a team working for him, but he essentially is the most successful indie artist on the planet. We shouldn't punish him for that. I once read in a comment on one of his YouTube videos, which I'll read negative comments, and it's really not a good habit to get into. But I read a comment once on one of his YouTube videos, and it said, Joe Bonamassa is a stain on the blues community because he self-promotes and commercializes his music. And I'm like, what the heck else is he supposed to do? What's the alternative to self-promoting and commercializing your music? Denying all money? Sitting on the street corner, strumming your guitar and singing, "I suck! Listen to the guy next to me." I mean, if you don't self-promote and commercialize your music, then you will never be heard by anyone. That's it. You will have tens of fans and not tens of thousands or tens of millions. And if you want your music to get heard, if you want to carry on a legacy that was started decades before you, then yeah, of course, the only way to get your music heard by the masses is to promote it and to commercialize it. So let's ease off a little bit there, okay? Ease off a little. But fortunately, people like this are in the vast minority. Joe Bonamassa worked extremely hard to get to where he is, but here's the kicker. This episode is not about Joe Bonamassa. It's about his show. We need to be sharp and see live from Nerdville, his podcast, his YouTube series. That is what we should be sharp and see. At the start of the pandemic, he basically said, okay, I can't gig. I can't work. I can't gig, can't travel to gig. But I love music. Love it. I'm a fan of music. I have an idea. And almost immediately started a series where he interviews music legends and music artists because he is a fan of music. Yes, he is like you and me, except he's one of the best guitar players of his generation. But why? Why should we be sharp and see this series? Because he is a musician who is highly respected by musicians, but he's also having an hour-long recorded discussion with them, with music legends. And I hate to say it, musicians say more when they talk to other musicians. They're in their comfort zone. So if you want the inside scoop on people like John Oates, Dion DiMucci, Neil Schon, Keb Mo, Paul Stanley, Glenn Hughes, Eric Johnson, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Daryl Hall, Paul Thorne, Mike Zito, and many, many more, then listen to this show. And we can see how they got their start with music, how they got their love for their craft, how their professional career got started, the many struggles that they had along the way, and the breaks that they got along the way. And they're not talking to a reporter. They're talking to one of their own, a fellow artist who knows that the struggle is real. Honestly, I know, I say some things and people might laugh and say, "Oh, Artie, that's so hyperbolic." But I think in 5 years, the music industry will look back at this series from Joe Bonamassa, and they're going to say, wow, this was groundbreaking. Not only did it happen right under our noses and we didn't think of it ourselves, but we kind of ignored its value for years. And if we stop and think about it, nothing like this has ever been done before. Has anything like this ever been done? I mean, I'm gonna get specific. Has there ever been a global pandemic and then a music legend all of a sudden goes out and says, I'm going to interview music legends every Wednesday? Has that ever been done before during a global pandemic? When was the last one? 1918. No, I really do believe this is groundbreaking, and I think that it's just too much right now. There's too much happening because of COVID. We don't know what the heck is going on in the world, and people are concerned with more than entertainment. Let's be honest. So thank you, COVID. Man could essentially colonize the sun, and it wouldn't even make the evening news. But that's understandable. That's why I think in the years to come, we are going to look back and be like, wow, these are amazing. Some of these interviews have tens of thousands of views right now. That will dramatically increase in the coming years because it's kind of awesome. Watch his interview with Ben Folds as they talk about the ups and downs, not of music making, of producing it, not of actual songwriting. Yes, there's some talk about songwriting, but there's talk about the production of music. It's like the inside look like never before. You literally have musicians openly talking about how they would show up to the studio for a recording session and, oh, there's cocaine all over the table. It's just there, so we did it. I don't know how it got there. I don't even know who paid for it. It's just there. You know, the open, trust me, I'm not glorifying that, okay? And I'm not saying that that's good, and neither does this podcast or this show. And there's no part of this show at all where there's the glorification of drug use or anything like that. It's just musicians talking about what it was like for them as they got their start, the challenges that they got, how they had to fight against drug addiction and alcoholism, how their careers almost fell down the tubes, and then the people who helped them get back on their feet. It's just amazing. You have musicians talking about playing with blues legends and how certain blues legends who were revered by everyone would change the 12-bar blues into 10-bar blues and change chords at the wrong time. Or instead of playing a minor chord, they're playing a major chord, but no one cares because they're playing with the blues legend. You just get honest and open talk. And you know what? This series will erase all of the stupid urban legends that are out there about music. You literally have a musician, the musicians, the legends themselves, talking to a fellow musician about what actually happened, right from the horse's mouth. There's no need to get any secondhand stories. So anyways, I just think that we need to be sharp and see the wonderful work Joe Bonamassa has been doing with his series, Live from Nerdville. You can watch it on YouTube. You can go to Spotify and watch it. It has been uploaded as a podcast. I highly recommend it. And that's all I have to say. And I promise, next episode will be about a musician. At any rate, this is Artie Astor coming to you from my home office in Orlando, Florida, with another episode of Be Sharp and See. Until next time, stay groovy.
Aspirations and bridges burn. I took a turn to the throes of the past. But now to dream. I know I'm not alone on this quest. A search for which version is best. But now that I'm free, I've got to dream. The sky will always be blue. The river will run to you. You'll never grow tired of being so inspired. I think that I will stay for as long as I need. For I feel I'm alive without having to bleed. But now that I'm free, I've got to dream.